Okay.
All right, we'll call order the town board meeting at the Town of Lisbon Town Hall on Monday, March 8th, 2021 at 6:31 PM. Roll call, please.
Chairman Osterman,
Here.
Supervisor Brahm,
Here.
Supervisor Moonen,
Here.
Supervisor Beal,
Here.
Supervisor Plotecker. Here. Administrator Nicholas. Here. And Clerk Capazzo to record the minutes.
Thank you. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 3 is comments from citizens present. Does anyone wish to make any comments? All right, item 4 is meeting minutes. Discussion necessary action regarding approval of the February 22nd, 2021 town board meeting minutes. You have the minutes. Any questions or comments, or is there a motion?
I make a motion we accept as presented.
Motion by Linda to accept as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Becky Poltecker. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 5 is accounts payable. Authorize the payment of the bills in the amount of $110,550.05.
Our largest payments for this AP is Compass Minerals America for $30,310.77. Harmony Homes for Glen River surety bond reduction of $8,171.38. Jerry's Transmission Service for an accident repair for fire at $8,550.40. Kunkel Engineering, $11,555. And Premier Building Inspections for $20,464.24. Finally, Verbecker with $9,001. I ask for your approval.
Questions, comments from the board?
I do. On page 3, the accident, what was that all about?
I believe this was a deer accident. Doug might have more information about it, but I believe a deer hit our ambulance.
For $8,100 or $8,500?
Yeah, deer, the ambulance was en route to a call and a deer came running out and actually hit the side of the ambulance and took the front fender, headlights and all of those components on the front of that ambulance out.
Okay.
And then because it needed to be taken to Minnesota so that we could get a loaner. So there's a loaner ambulance that was involved with that, and then it was gone for several weeks. And then there was all kinds of front end work that needed to be done also on that.
Is that recoverable by insurance?
Yeah.
Yes, a portion of it. We have a deductible that we had to pay, but yes,
Okay,
it was sent in and we received payment.
okay. Thank you.
So Jerry's does the whole thing?
Jerry's Transmission is actually North Central Ambulance Service out of Minnesota. He's got kind of a couple of different names in his business. The front end alignment actually was handled by Sussex Auto because it came back before the alignment was done. But then that was all part of that.
And just a quick question, on page 2, it says Compass Materials. Is that to how long will all that last us? That's here now that was just delivered.
Joe, you want to come to the microphone?
Were
have
you
a better
buying for
idea.
next year?
No, not yet. We still have, that's a portion of the seasonal fill that we have. So
Okay,
I still have 500 ton that we can get from down there. So, I mean, it's been, even though it was a crazy 2 months, it was actually a lighter year than,
Right.
last year and the year before. Even though it went nuts and it just hit us hard, we didn't use as much salt. So, no, this is just We're working on the new salt shed, and that's all stuff that'll change this, where we may only have a one-time fill or twice a season fill right now, since we have capacity of roughly 800 ton. And you
Okay.
just don't know what happens with Lake Michigan and the trucking and all that. The minute we use, a storm goes out, I bring a couple loads in and I just play that game. So that's why we have a lot of bills for, $3,000 to $6,000, just because I keep it full. Otherwise, you
Right.
kind of, and
You
then,
need to
we
be-
don't have trucks, and then you're in trouble.
You need to be prepared.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
So
you.
that is it is full, the shed is full at the moment. So
Okay.
you could kind of say it's just replenish what we use, but it is for next year. It all depends on what happens here.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
All right, any other questions?
I make a motion, we accept the bill as presented.
Motion by Linda to accept as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Then we have the monthly report in ACH auto pays for February of 2021. Any questions on that? Is there a motion to place on file?
I'll make a motion to place the auto pays on file.
Motion by Becky. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Linda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 6 is announcements and correspondence. We have the Plan Commission and public hearings meeting on Thursday, 3/11 at 6:30 at the Richard Young Fire Station. So the Plan Commission will be at the fire station on Thursday. The Parks Committee meeting will be Monday, the 15th at 6:30 at the fire station. The Sanitary District Number 1 meeting will be Wednesday, the 17th at 6:30 at the Town Hall. And then the next Town Board meeting will be Monday, the 22nd here at the Town Hall at 6:30 PM. Does anyone else have any announcements or correspondence? I guess this might be as good a place as ever to sadly announce that Jane Stadler has passed away. She was a long time. She's a board member, a Plan Commission member, a Parks Committee chair. She was on Arrowhead School Board. I mean, she was involved in almost anything you could possibly be involved in. And
It was quite impressive what she was involved in.
Yeah.
I knew she was involved in a lot, but not a lot until I read her.
she is going to be deeply missed.
So she was our first Lisbon woman supervisor, town supervisor. That's something
She was a wealth of information,
Absolutely.
and it was a very nice service on Saturday.
Yeah, it was. That will take us to the administrator's report.
So just an update on the TID. I met with two businesses. We met with two businesses interested in locating their, in the Leeds commercial part of the development. We have nothing concrete, but we'll bring back information as it, when it's possible, if we get something in. The contractors have started on the utility work, so you'll see some work being done over there. We met with Hamilton School District on connecting the 12-inch water main. They currently have on their property for our phase 2 of our project to create a water loop. We also spoke with them about an easement during the construction time. They're going to their board and going through their process. Jeff Villinger's attorney did another open records request on February 23rd. It's been completed and sent. The audit has been complete, so they're doing their work. The auditors are doing their work now. Natasha's doing a great job working on our first online gazette, and we're expected to have that go live March 15th. We have about 25 people that have asked for a hard copy, and we'll be mailing them out to those that requested it. And that's my report.
All right, any questions for Kathy? Thank you, Kathy. Item 8 is supervisor reports. Does anyone have anything to report?
No,
All right. Item 9 is unfinished business. A, discussion and necessary action regarding resolution 2021-05 related to the renaming of Town Park as Jane Stadler Memorial Park. So, we talked about this at the last meeting. I don't know if you have anything to add.
Nope, I did put something together. Becky looked it over. We, at the last meeting, you decided to name the park Jane Stadler Park. We went with James Sadler Memorial Park as a little bit of a change. We went through and did a resolution to rename the park. This is the document in front of me.
Obviously, when we were doing the resolution, Jane was still with us and now she has passed. So I think it's a fitting way to put memorial on the end there now.
Mhm.
It's, so I'm just going to go through and actually read the resolution on this one. Resolution renamed Town Hall Park, James Sadler Memorial Park. Whereas Jane Stadler has been a resident of the town of Lisbon for over 50 years, and whereas Jane Stadler was the first woman elected as Lisbon Town Board Supervisor in 1986 and served 12 years with dedication and honor. And whereas Jane Stadler served on the Parks Committee as chair from 1986 to 1990. And whereas Jane Stadler further showed her devotion to Lisbon by faithfully serving on the Lisbon Plan Commission from 1987 to 2020. And whereas the town board of the town of Lisbon, Wisconsin would like to honor Jane Stadler and show her appreciation for her years of dedicated service and contribution to the Lisbon community. And whereas the town board has the authority to rename parks under their jurisdiction, now therefore it be resolved that the town board of the town of Lisbon, Waukesha County, Wisconsin hereby renames Town Hall Park to Jane Stadler Memorial Park. I would make a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Becky. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item B is discussion and necessary action regarding Good Hope right-of-way detachment.
So in front of you, you have two ordinances. They're literally the same ordinances that you passed in 2019 and then rescinded due to the fact that the legal description was not completed. Our engineer has gone through, he's found 3 small areas that needed to be changed. And I asked for your approval of the ordinances with the condition that the legal description has been approved by the engineer.
Questions, comments? So we want to get this one done. This is part of what we agreed to do with Sussex, and it's taken a while here, so we got to get this one going. And I guess I just had approval of the engineer and the town administrator. I think I'd like to add that in there as a condition. How does everybody feel with that?
Okay.
How about the town attorney?
The town attorney had said that the ordinance was fine. What it was the legal description.
Do we do one at a time or yes? Or we can do them both at the same time or?
Well,
Are you
I think
okay with
we-
them?
Yeah, I would just have the same condition for both. I think we have to take them separate, all right?
Yes.
Actually, our unfinished business just states the Good Hope one. So we're going to have to just do the Good Hope one and then bring this second one back.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But that's the one that they told us about, so it's fine. When Lisbon approached me, they mentioned the Good Hope one, so we weren't sure about the second one, and we found the second one after that you pulled both of them after that, so.
All right. So we're looking for a motion to approve ordinance 2021-07 with the conditions that it would be approved by the town engineer and town administrator.
I so make that nomination.
Moved by Linda Beal. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Becky. Any other discussion?
I wasn't here in 2019. Can you just tell me what part of the right-of-way of Good Hope is this? Just so we know.
It's different sections of it, actually.
And the property has been annexed, it was part of the agreement through court, that when a detachment was requested that we were to detach. And so they, Sussex came in to ask for the detachment. And we're just following through what the court said we needed to.
Yeah, I'm not objecting to it. I just was curious where on Good Hope was it? And
It's all different right-of-ways. We have the sheets we can get you. So the problem, part of the problem was with some of the, and this was with the legal descriptions, it wasn't interconnecting in certain spots. And Some of it just didn't make sense, and there was some question whether or not they had a right to request it because none of the triggers were being used. I mean, it was a mess, but at the end of the day, this is the right thing to do. And-
Yeah.
But we can get you the,
I'm just kind of curious, it's probably both sides of the road, and is there still some Lisbon land on the side of the road that they're taking, or is that not part of this?
I think
All in the VGA,
I think there's a couple spots where there might be some properties that are still there, but they're gonna go.
but yeah, they're part of the VGA,
Yeah,
so.
so everything there will go. It's just for some utility work and some other, I know it's where some of the sidewalks are and such.
Makes sense to me.
When you send that over to Doug, Kathy, could I just send me a copy too?
I'll send you both the legal description and the map, so you can look on the map.
For maybe
The map is
Maple.
all I need.
Yeah,
And for maybe, yeah, and
And
for
legal
Maple
like that.
too.
and for Maple as well.
Mhm.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Takes us to item 10, new business. Discussion and necessary action regarding a request from Dean Wicker for a 30-day extension to remove items stored in violation of Town Code Chapter 5, subsections 502, parent A, parent 1, and parent 2, and sections 5.06, parent A, parent B, and parent C on the property located at West 220 North 7503 Town Line Road, tax key LSPT 0196.999.
Mr. Wicker contacted Town Hall on March 1st to obtain some information regarding a 15-day compliance notice that he had received from Inspector Olhafen. I told him I would find out the procedure for doing so. And he is here tonight and is looking for an extension in order to come into compliance.
How you doing? I guess you can, we don't need you to go through the whole process on it, I guess.
Oh, thank goodness.
Does anybody have any issue with granting them? You've read the information in the packet. Everybody sees it. Does anyone have any issue with granting him a 30-day extension after what information you've read?
It's granted to him.
I just have one question for Mr. Wicker.
Could be me.
When do you think it's going to be completed?
I live in Wisconsin for going on 60 years now, and I can't tell you. The biggest problem, I had people out last weekend, we're trying to get stuff moved around. Some of this, my property is 400 feet deep, and it goes up 74 feet in that distance. So I sort of live on the edge of a glacier. A lot of this stuff is not moving right now. No matter how many big, stronger guys than I tug at it, it's just stuck there. So we got, I think all of the cars are mobile. I build scenery for the Hamilton School District. And so every now and then things end up back at my place that we don't have any place else to store. So the other question that I have, which I don't need to address now, but I have a trailer that I keep a bunch of equipment for doing shows at that particular facility. And that's mentioned as a job trailer on well, I don't know if that's whatever it is, on the letter. And I gotta find out what the rules are for keeping stuff like that somewhere. I'm meeting with the school, with the district tomorrow. We're gonna try and get them to find a place to park it, but we just need to, we don't like, because it's a public use facility, we don't like to leave it there because then all that stuff gets used and not always as carefully as it ought to be.
So can I suggest a 60-day extension?
I like how you think.
That was going to be my question, is that if it hasn't been done now, is 30 days even going to be helpful?
Oh, it is. I mean, it's been a bad couple of years. My dad just passed, so I acquired some of his junk, which is where I learned to keep junk. So we got rid of a couple cars today, got a trailer full of scrap outboards going tomorrow, and a third car. And then I've got a guy coming on the week. I've got a bunch of Mercedes up there, and I've got a guy coming to look at the whole set of them. So
I have a question. Are you planning on getting rid of everything that's there and, or moving some of it up more west on your property? Are you gonna,
Well, the part of the problem of moving it west is I have a 380-foot driveway, and then there's a
Right.
garage way up at the west end. And
correct?
the last 20 feet of that driveway goes up 9 feet.
Okay,
So getting stuff up into that, and that's kind of why a lot of stuff ends up where it does, is because getting it into the garage in the middle of winter when we're doing show business
Right.
is difficult.
I think it's better to remove it personally.
Some of it, yeah, it comes to a matter of then we have to build it and all that the next time we do a show that has the same sort of thing. Right now, I have the locomotive from My Fair Lady sitting in my yard, but we'll move that along.
Mhm. Is a trailer, does it have a good lock on it?
Yeah, 2 of them, actually.
Okay,
It's a 12-foot, like, a lot, everybody who has a Boy Scout troop has a trailer of the same sort. It's 12 feet long, this tall, and 6 feet wide.
It's enclosed.
Yeah, it's an enclosed trailer. I have a landscaping trailer. When my dad passed, we had to go up and clean out the lake house and stuff like that, so I had 15 or 20 outboard motors and a couple of old snowmobiles and stuff like that. They're way heavier than I'm too damn old. If I reach out, I can touch 60. So it's just hasn't gotten emptied out yet.
okay. I think it's a good idea to give 60 days, especially where it's just March and it
We
should,
just want to come back in 30 days and do it again.
exactly.
So, Would you have an issue with 60?
I mean, is realistically 60 days? Here's, I think everybody understands this probably didn't get this way overnight, and we,
Like how you think too.
I guess,
But it's actually.
in the sense of not hearing, again, in 60 days, why it's not done. Do you think 60 days is?
60 days would be plenty. I cried a little bit when I got rid of the cars this morning, but I'm over it. So at some point, I have a couple of Opel GTs. I don't know if you're familiar. They look sort of like a little miniature Corvette. And those have been kept, or one of them is inside, one of them is outside. I'm probably going to get rid of the one that's outside and just keep the one that's inside. You guys don't care
If
what's
they're-
in my garage.
But if they're registered, there's no issue, I believe.
Well, I think if they're outside and they don't look like you could get in them and drive them,
Right, they have to be drivable.
Right,
yeah. Well, I have an Opel GT, and I have the shell of an Opel GT with a bunch of extra parts stuck in it. Likewise, I have a Tracker, and then I have a Suzuki Sidekick, which is the same truck with a bunch of extra parts and stuff that I use as a sort of like my little own AutoZone. So I'm getting rid of all the stuff that doesn't look like a car. I figure if there's a car, I have a 5-car carport, and I figure if there's 4 Mercedes-Benz in there and whatever I'm driving that week, that probably wouldn't bother people so much as long as they're all
Plated,
plated.
licensed.
Yeah. Some of them are not as current on their registration as they ought to be, but
So 60 days, you believe is enough time?
I think 60 days will be enough time. Like I said, I've got a guy coming who may get rid of all the Mercedes, and then my problems get much smaller.
so when you were talking, you had 5 Mercedes or 5 cars?
I have 4 Mercedes, and then I have a couple of GT.
Where would you be parking all of those?
I'm going to give them to a gentleman down in Illinois who does the same thing that I do, and then it'll be their meeting where we talk about getting rid of them.
Okay, gotcha. I thought you said you were gonna hang on to them and I thought, oh, where are you gonna park
As
those?
long as he parks them in a place that's in compliance with their code.
That's
he can do
right.
Whatever he
Code.
wants.
I acquired a couple of a Suburban and a pickup truck from my dad when he passed, and I have not transferred the title on those. Because the Suburban doesn't run right, and the pickup truck really doesn't run right. That's more like his parts truck. So I'll get rid of everything that doesn't look like a working vehicle, and then when you're not looking, I'll move them all around so it looks like they're all driving. I mean, I will make sure that they can,
For code.
yeah.
Mhm.
And does anybody know what the code is on that trailer?
You can ask Brian.
Okay,
He'll get it to you.
perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Is there a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve a request by Dean Wicker for an extension of a 60-day extension to remove items stored in violation of Town Code Chapter 5, subsections 5.02A1 and 2, and subsections 5.06A, B, and C on the property located at W220 North 7503 Town Line Road, LSBT 0196.999.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody want to vote? No, never mind.
Item B, discussion necessary action regarding bids received for 2021 compost site grinding. We got Joe DeStefano here.
Hello, all right. If you read through it, you noticed I did not go with recommending the low bid this time. We've used him the last 2 times and it's gone okay, but it's taken a lot longer than I feel we can do this. I used to do this actually for a living prior to my Lisbon life. So I recommend for the $1,500 difference in price to go with Enercon. They'll have a much bigger machine. It'll go smoother. We can shave a couple of days off of what we probably would do with the $7,000 bid, meaning we can get on other projects, and we potentially can save money on the rental of the loader due to the fact that we would only use it for 2 to 3 days instead of 5. So it would be not necessarily offsetting that increase, but it would be close. And then we have $14,000 budgeted for grinding services at the compost site, $8,500 off the loader. Let's just say I use $2,000 for the rental. That would leave us with $3,500 remaining. And that money would be used for a potential 1-day summer grind if mulch got down to a point where we wanted to get fresh mulch in there for residents. So I just bring a guy in for a day and we can grind and we'd have mulch to finish out the year if we need it. So it would just leave us that little buffer. If we don't need it, we just pile it all in there and grind again this time in 22. But with the moving of the compost site and everything else going on, I may be coming back with different plans at the end of the year too, if we need to grind or something, but
When is that anticipated?
we should be in this year. But I foresee it being late summer, early fall.
Okay.
But it's one of my main projects for 21.
I think Joe has done a nice job of trying to find ways to make the hours that his staff is working productive. Even though this was a little bit higher, slightly higher bid, I think he's justified this very well, and we ask for approval.
He always does a great job watching for the town and the equipment.
Don't
and the
make me
roads.
blush up here. all right?
Yeah.
Thank you, though. I appreciate that. I try.
Any questions or comments from the board, or is there a motion on this?
I make a motion, we accept the bid for 2021 compost site grinding to Enercon Inc. for not to exceed $8,500.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mark. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks,
Thank
Joe.
you.
Item C, discussion necessary action regarding update to Lisbon bond schedule.
Once a year, we take a look at our bond schedule. We came up, our deputies have come up with a couple times where they were looking to give a ticket, but we had no bond amount for our tickets. I've asked the captain to go out and take a look. She had staff go out and look at 4 neighboring communities to find out what their amounts were for bonds. And then they gave us their suggestions for changes to the bonds. So if you have any questions on specific amounts that you want to talk about, If you're fine with these amounts, we'll put these for the next board meeting in an ordinance and move them, take out the other municipalities and finalize the bond schedule. So I just brought it here just in case any of you had any concerns about the bond amount suggested.
Questions or comments on any of them?
I did have a question for, say, 5.03. It's $187. Is that a daily fine or just a one-time fee? I know in some of the municipalities I've worked with, there's a range that they can assign for a bond, whether it be like 5 to 500. And it depends on,
I believe it's a forfeiture, one-time forfeiture. So once they'd have to go out and do another ticket for another forfeiture. I came from a place that did just that. We had a range, $50 to $1,000. And if it was somebody that consistently abused, it might go up a little higher. But if they worked with us to get it in compliance pretty fast, it was at the lower rate. I wasn't sure if you did that here, if you did ranges. So this was their suggestion.
Is that your preference, Mark, or you want to?
I mean, I guess, I think it's easier if we have one proposed bond amount. On the second hand, I don't think all offenses that would fall under our 5.03 carry the same level of importance or egregiousness. So I could also see and would lean towards a scale that would, I guess, give our prosecutor and court leeway when deciding the fine.
You want to work with
No
Kathy
problem
on?
with that.
I guess I'd rather not, just because of my employment, but
Mhm.
that's my input on it.
Can I ask you, what would be examples of abatement of public nuisance?
I mean, for example, the matter that we heard earlier is a 5.03 code. I mean, we could have somebody who has one single vehicle junked in the yard, or we could have somebody who's collected a junkyard. I don't think that necessarily that
That's not the same.
is the same.
No.
I mean, there's a lot of little things somebody could get called in that could be out of compliance with 5.03. So it's such a broad range that I don't know that it would be proper just give them one ticket.
But most of these would be given after they were already given notice to correct the thing.
Right, and I mean, without seeing the 5.03 in its entirety, I saw the snapshot of it. This would be a daily fine, I'm guessing, or every time it was observed. So generally, when you do code compliance, you have to observe it actually every day to actually issue a new fine. If you go one time over a 10-day period or a 30-day period, it would be $187 one time. If the person was given notice to correct 30 days, then actually you could keep stacking every day. The inspector would observe the violation.
Really?
It just gives more oomph behind people actually engaging and getting their stuff taken care of. And obviously, as you can see, we're very lenient on that. So
Well, people
I'll,
are people.
I can take a look and see what others do for their code violations.
That was
Bring back
my
a scale
next
if
question was,
everybody's
how
good with that.
come they don't have the examples in that column? Under Village of Sussex and Heartland and Economock, where they give you like the rates of our surrounding communities, but in that one, there's none.
I don't know if they have the same type of violation
Yeah.
in their code.
How does this fit with what Brian charges? Because he can charge a per day fine if they don't clean it up after his 15 days or whatever it is. How does that fit in there?
Well, this will actually work with what Brian is doing.
So it's in
So
addition
it's-
there too?
This will be what Brian will be using when he is.
Because I read in the
It's a
letter
bond
was like
schedule.
$215 a day or something like that. Is that what you received, Mr. Wicker?
Didn't mention the fine in the letter. It says that there's a fine, but it didn't mention the amount.
Oh,
And I called Emily or Lisa,
Correct.
sorry. And she said, I figured it was $224 a day.
or maybe
$224
that's,
was
$224.80.
fine, but we weren't sure exactly what the recurrence of that.
okay, I gotcha.
So we'll clean that up a little bit.
Maybe talk to Brian on that too. Okay.
Any other areas?
I have a question on, and I'm not, like, I don't understand the bond thing. That's just a set amount for a fine. Also, if the issue had to be serviced by the fire department or by police or something, isn't there also a thing where you can charge them by the hour for the amount of time a service was needed to interact with any one of these issues? You know what I'm saying?
I don't,
Like if the fire department had to respond to illegal burning and put it out, couldn't there also be attached a cost to the town for correcting the issue?
I've never had that happen.
I think
Have you seen that?
I think in that case, what municipalities will do is they will assign a bond plus costs. I guess, for instance, on a fire scene, if somebody drew from, say, Sussex's municipal water, we could get the bill from Sussex's water, add that as a cost to the, say it was an illegal burn, we could add that too as a cost. And then the court can determine what's the outcome. So I know a lot of municipalities will assign a bond plus cost.
Yeah. And I was wondering if that could be in here plus cost, if there, I know there has been some issues in the past, not many, but where the fire department was called, where people were burning illegally and then they maybe became a little belligerent and not cooperative, and then things got out of control, and pretty soon trucks were all over the place and were running hose and putting stuff out, and there was a cost to it.
What plus cost
I mean,
on our bonds?
it says that I'm reading from Town Code 1.05. For our bond schedule, it says in the event that a bond is permitted to be posted for any violations of this code, and in further events that no bond schedule hereto has been adopted or established by a town board, essentially it says a $50 plus costs and penalties may be assessed at the discretion of the officer issuing the citation. So, I mean, I think I think before your time, I think we held off on an actual updated bond schedule. I guess that's where I would go, is to have a formal bond schedule looked at. Yeah, that's a lot of work. So usually you set a bond plus cost. And that way when Lake Country changes their court costs, and
They can just do.
I think
plus
2 years
cost.
ago was the last one. The state changed it. Then you don't have to readopt the bond schedule to be collecting what the court is asking for.
Okay, I'll put plus costs. And that'll cover any changes.
Okay, any other questions, concerns? So we won't need a formal
I
motion
have a
on.
question.
Oh.
What is transient public entertainment?
So
I mean, if a bum was dancing, would that be?
transient would be somebody that is moving, so it would be entertainment that moves from, they don't have a facility. Have you ever given a violation like that? I know I've had it in another location, but I've never seen it used. But it
Oh,
allows
okay, I
if
just
there was-
wondered.
That's what it
Streetlights?
was. It has to do with a transient group that
Don't live here.
moves from place to place that does not live in the town or as the business established in the town.
Mhm.
I love the waterfall / animals in the park.
Yeah.
Good luck catching them.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Mm-mm.
So you have direction, never looking for motion, not just direction, where to go and bring it back.
Yep, just direction. Thank you.
All right. Item D, discussion and necessary action regarding approval of change of order for installation of 12-inch water main on the lead site.
All right, so in front of you, you have on the back page, the document. I mentioned it during our meeting that they started the utilities out. And from the first red line down is the 12-inch that they're putting in. We did have 8-inch from the bottom of our cul-de-sac up to about where the line comes off to the side. We did have 8-inch in, but then the village said we needed to have 12-inch in. So they're doing that work right now to get this accomplished. They needed to get started pretty quickly in order to allow for the road to get in early April they started last week with administrative approval. And I come to you with a request for approval on the two change orders. One is a date and one is an amount of $181,732.58.
So the original pipe was put in there when we weren't going to have municipal water. So now that we have access to municipal water, we have to go by the standards of the village of Sussex, which is the 12-inch water, but we are still saving exponentially more than this.
Just an on road.
So does anyone have any questions?
Wasn't there a pipe in the first rendition of this that we paid for?
8-inch.
The
It was
8-inch.
8-inch?
Check 8-inch.
So what happens to that pipe then?
It's getting ripped out.
So not all of it, just a portion of it, because it went from town line all the way through to our cul-de-sac on Richard Road, then up Richard Road. It's just the piece that's coming out is what was buried under, what was going to be under Richard Road.
From here to here.
So,
Okay.
It's not the whole.
so then we can do 12-inch, but the 8-inch, the rest of the way is fine. It's just the main itself has to be a 12-inch.
The north-south pipe, the
Okay.
east-west pipe is still going to be the 8.
Correct.
It's kind of like on backbone and off backbone kind of discussion.
We have no choice.
Not if we want to use municipal water, we don't.
No. Okay. I make a motion that we approve the change of order for installation of 12-inch water main on the lead site for no more than $181,732.58 and use the TIF revenue.
There's no.
Oh, I was just reading what was on here. It would be paid for by.
It'll be, yeah,
It'll be
It's
paid
in the
by the
tip.
tip.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's no revenue yet. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. No revenue yet, but
Yeah.
we're coming on it. Okay. Any other questions?
What are we gonna pay that out of in the time being?
What are we going to pay that out of currently?
Yeah.
It's our bond coming out.
Okay.
Which the bond will be paid by the TIF money. Is the idea in the
Okay.
long run.
That's what you meant, Linda?
Yes.
Okay.
That is
The second was
exactly
good
what.
with that?
Yes.
Otherwise, you're gonna be waiting a while for the money.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item E, discussion necessary action regarding proposed contract for fire protection services from the City of Pewaukee Fire Department.
So in front of you, you have the information from the City of Pewaukee. When they came in and did their presentation, they didn't give us as much detail. This is to give you more detail on what they are going to, they're suggesting. Today's meeting is to go over what they're suggesting, see if there's anything that you'd like to add or change, something that we can bring back to Kevin. They are planning on coming forward on the 22nd to discuss anything that you wanted to make changes on, or you had questions to, but this was your first kick at the cat, essentially. And if you so choose, closed session is on the agenda if in the future you'd like to go into closed session. But this part can be discussed in open session.
So the parts we can discuss in open session is everything except for the cost. That part would only be in closed session at this point. Does anyone have any questions on the contract or anything for, not contract, but the proposal is listed here except for the cost?
Are they looking for some input with this original proposal? Are they looking from us for questions to have compiled for them to be ready on the 22nd? Or what would be the process moving forward with the questions and things? And
So I don't know if they would like you to have questions, but I would like the questions put together so we get answers at the next meeting. If
And
we
then-
don't give them the questions and we give it to them on the fly, they might not have the answers. So I think if you have any questions that you want them to come back with on their presentation, absolutely, let's do that tonight. Or you can also, if you come up with some after the fact, you can also send them to me and I can send them to,
I think it would be nice to have a period of time where you're accepting questions from us. And then, you could have those ready for them in their presentation, as long as there's enough time in between for them to prepare for it and things. Because I have many, many questions, but to bring them up here right now, it's not like there's going to be answers anyway, unless they're here or they have a prior chance to look at them.
so I think it would be helpful in discussion, Supervisor Braun, if we kind of discuss some of that, because the rest of the board members might want to hear what your thoughts are on any of your thoughts, because let's say you ask me a question, you want an answer to a question, and the rest of the board is like, we don't want to go in that direction. I'm not saying yours, any of you, but if you can discuss it as a whole, a little bit of it, that might be helpful to bring forward. But I have no problem having time available till the end of the week to get me your questions, and then I can get them to him before I leave on Friday. That gives him a good week and a half to prep.
And then
He
you
gets
could
back.
give those questions to us as a group too.
I could
prior
send
to-
you exactly what I send Kevin.
Yeah.
So anyone that has any questions can, sorry.
No, you're good. You're fine.
Can go ahead and start out.
I guess for an orderly purpose, I'd make a recommendation to the board that we take the 8 different disciplines that are outlined inside the report and at least start there and see if that's, if the board is on the same wavelength as far as how each one of us stand on the real property, staff, and so on. It looks like there's 8 of them.
Mhm.
So I think we could take that, and I think
Okay.
as a group, like Supervisor Braun said, we're not necessarily looking for answers tonight, but if we can drum up some questions, maybe people who are watching at home or on Zoom are having some of the same questions, and may alleviate questions during the week from the public.
So obviously the first one is the real property, which is our stations. States all stations remain under the ownership of the town of Lisbon. Such property is to be maintained and updated by the township and shall be outlined under the proposal contracted to be negotiated. So does anyone have any issue the way that's laid out in concept? It feels similar to the way Bark River is probably going to be.
I think Bark River actually had maintenance in there formula.
Does anyone have any specific questions they want to pose on this?
I just want to make a statement. I think it's a good idea. It stays under our buildings stay under the town of Lisbon instead of selling them to the city. Because if something happens, we need to bring them back. Two, most importantly, both of our stations are used for other things other than just a fire station. So
Right.
we still want to have the ability to use them when needed, and we could maintain them for that same reason.
Yeah, that was actually a requirement that I had when all this started, was no matter what it is, that the stations remain under the control of the town, ownership and control.
And if I remember correctly, Pewaukee has 2 stations. They got rid of 2 stations and they have 2 stations currently? Fire stations?
They, on their own property, they do, but these are
Right.
our stations.
Yes, I know, yeah.
So I also agree that we need to keep our buildings and our infrastructure. If there's maybe a little more specific lines about what type of maintenance is the town going to be responsible for 100% of the maintenance? I mean, there's minor maintenance, there's major maintenance, there's cleaning, there's all kinds of facility things that need to be done, you know, I mean, right down to changing light bulbs or fixing things or furnace filters on all of that, you know, I mean, this is pretty ambiguous. There's not really a.
Yeah,
I guess it would be just, I would think just the building itself, not the cots, not the.
Well,
anything like that.
I guess along the lines of what Doug was saying, should Pewaukee occupy the station, they're a union fire department? Is it against their union rules to have them clean the station?
Well, I doubt it, whether it's about, I believe they would clean this.
Some places won't even allow their employees to clean. They
Yeah.
hire a cleaning service. So I think
But
that.
they would be, if they hired a cleaning service, that should be their, out of their budget.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's something that we need to nail down. Is that
Well, yeah,
that included or is that not, or is that our?
you know, who puts the
That's the
toilet
question.
paper in there? I mean, those are all things.
Yep.
So,
So we need to spell out our maintenance.
And I would say insurance, building insurance. I mean, we currently insure our own buildings, but who's gonna be insuring the buildings and
Liability on the property.
liability for property loss or personal injury?
and there's specific equipment to a fire station that's down there, like a breathing air compressor and the building air compressor. And the fans that, you know, move the air through the hose tower. And there's things that are specific to firefighting that's down there that would need to be maintained.
Does that stay with the town of Lisbon? Equipment that you were talking about?
That equipment is, it's like part of the station.
It's part of the
I think Doug's
station.
more talking about who would be responsible for
Okay.
maintaining it.
Yeah, like breathing air compressors, you know, you have to send in not quarterly, but I think it's biannually or annually, the air samples so that you certify your breathing air. And then there's filters that need to be changed and there's issues of all that. And there's a breathing air compressor at both stations. So, I mean, there's hose dryers and issue stuff.
Okay.
You got some questions on that? Any other ones on the real estate property essentially?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Sorry. All right, on the staff end of it, City of Pewaukee would offer positions to all qualified full-time current employees of the Town of Lisbon Fire Department. Those non-exempt qualified employees would be covered under the City of Pewaukee collective bargaining agreement upon hire. Additional career positions would be posted per City of Pewaukee protocol internally first, which would include all former Lisbon part-time and externally if necessary. Goes on to describe the full-time and staff positions. The fact that the employees would be subject to probationary period and be required to fulfill any outstanding educational requirements of the position. And that any individuals needing additional coaching, counseling, or mentoring will be given every opportunity to have those needs satisfied in a timely manner. Any questions on this?
Guess a little more detail on the certifications that everything and if they're requiring any physical requirements and what they all are. And
Any other questions on? I imagine you're probably gonna submit a slew of questions on this one.
Well, I've got pages and pages of things that I would probably submit, so, yeah.
Anybody else have any questions on the staff end?
Could I also, when we finalize this, can I also, other than board members, could I ask our fire chief also for her opinion on some of these questions, if she has any questions she'd like to see?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Would that be fine?
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we move on to the branding. City of Pewaukee respects the rich history of the Town of Lisbon Fire Department and will request that the apparatus and stations remain named as such until such time outlined. So basically,
What does that mean?
it means it's the engines and the stations would say Lisbon Fire Department. So
Until
it's
such,
similar to like what Waukesha County does right now, where it has
Right.
Lisbon on the side.
but what does it mean as such time outlined?
Do you want it forever? Do you want it a month? Do you want to do a transition?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I guess
That's what-
It's come ambiguous.
that's up for us to determine.
right. Yeah, we need to determine that.
Okay.
Is that the wish of the board? Is it to have it aimed at Lisbon Fire? Do we care? That's a question, not that
I think initially it's least expensive to just leave it. And if they don't mind, if they want to put Pewaukee on the side of it too, I guess I don't have a problem with that either.
I wouldn't do it at this time. Like you
well, if they
said.
want to add Pewaukee on it.
Oh, they do?
If
If they
want.
did.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
So are you thinking that when apparatus is replaced, at that point, it would just say the city of Pewaukee?
I guess my request would be that, like what was just said, the trucks are already graphicked, they're already numbered, there's a lot of things that are already set. This can't happen overnight. I think, I don't think it would be like a phase in, because then you'd have some of the stuff saying Town of Lisbon Fire Department, then you'd have some of the other stuff saying City of Pewaukee. I think we could negotiate down the road that at a certain point they get changed over.
there's a lot of these joint communities that have something on the door and then serving all these other communities, or they, I mean, what's written on the side of the truck nowadays doesn't matter a lot. All these trucks show up on everybody's calls anyway. People expect to see any area fire truck show up.
But our renaming of our stations? We want to keep Richard Young.
I think if,
Richard Young, no matter what.
Yeah, yep.
I think if we stay with the first one, with the real property, I think we maintain naming rights.
Mhm.
So you naming your fire stations per, for these reasons I would think would definitely be up to the town. But, for operations, they're going to start calling them Station 1, Station 2, Station 3, Station 4. For
That's-
dispatch and operational things, they should be able to change them to what they need them to be. And in the CAD, when they do unit dispatching and things, those will be probably under different circumstances.
Right. We had Station 1 and Station 2 for a while.
Yeah, we have Good Hope, Richmond, we have this, I mean, that's all, but what they have to do operationally, you can't, don't restrain them.
Right. Everybody's good on that.
Mhm.
I guess for me, I'd kind of prefer to always have something that, if it's our equipment, they might be purchasing equipment, but if it's equipment dedicated to Lisbon more so, I guess I'd prefer that they have Lisbon out of it. at
Right,
some
I
point
would
even in
too.
the future. But it's not like it's a deal killer for me in any way, shape or form. I think once you got graphics, it's the same price, no matter if it's an L or a P it starts with, but.
And the graphics they have today isn't all that expensive anyway.
But it's no deal killer for me. If more board members wanted to go the other way, it is what it is. So, any other questions on the branding end? All right, capital equipment. A complete and accurate inventory shall be completed by representatives of both agencies. Equipment shall transfer to the service provider, the exception of apparatus which shall be surveyed for value by agreeable third-party vendor. The city of Pewaukee shall have the right to review and determine apparatus requirements for the designated hazards and transfer by agreeable method those apparatus outlined. They're gonna take what they want, use what they deem acceptable, and then ones they don't are gonna be valued. I guess we gotta figure out what's gonna happen with that. And then basically they're saying they get to decide what the specs are on the trucks moving forward.
And they're still, we own the truck, we own the equipment. They own the equipment. Do they pay us for the equipment that they
Well, that's what-
use? No, it says what we don't want to use.
Right.
But I just want to make sure that they're paying us from, for what this, like the trucks and stuff that we have, they pay us.
Right, they're gonna determine whether or not they can use them. So, and then this is gonna be some of the stuff that's interesting with us because we have, we don't have hydrants. So
Right,
this is gonna be a discussion, the equipment that's in Lisbon is gonna have to be designed for Lisbon.
right,
It can't be one size fits all.
right.
I guess that would be important. Obviously, there's certain things that we had gotten on apparatus that they may not get, but
So I just want to make sure that the equipment that we have, the vehicles, everything, there's a third party in person who does this, and then they reimburse us for our equipment. Is that true?
well, it says your equipment shall transfer to the service provider, the exception of apparatus which shall be surveyed for value by an agreeable third-party vendor.
Yeah, they're just saying the equipment that we're not using?
So basically, the stuff that they're not gonna take, I guess we're gonna have to negotiate on that.
So
They're not gonna pay us for stuff they're not gonna use.
right, but they're going to pay us for the stuff that they do use.
I believe so,
That's what I'm confused on the
Right.
way this is
and that's a
worded.
question we can ask, but here's the thing. That $700,000 fire truck we bought is not worth $700,000 anymore.
I know,
And I bet you're gonna be very surprised at how much it's gonna be valued at,
I know.
so.
Mhm.
But those are questions we'll have to pose.
I would have one, if it does go to the third-party vendor, who pays the cost of having it evaluated? Is it 50/50? Is it solely on the town?
So who sets the price for the equipment that they're going to buy from us?
We both do. Representatives from both agencies.
Okay. Completed.
I think the third-party vendor is the guy
Yeah.
that's gonna come up with an assessment or the evaluation of the.
Right, because
truck.
both parties are coming up with a list.
Inventory, yeah.
Yeah, but the third party is also going to be setting a price for the equipment that they're going to buy from us.
No.
But that doesn't mean that,
Transfer.
I think we need to read after. It says the exception of apparatus which shall be surveyed for value by an agreeable third party. So apparatus is what's going to be surveyed by a third party.
So no vehicles.
Well,
That-
apparatus is general term for
All the trucks.
all the trucks.
Okay,
I think they're talking about the trucks that they don't want is just going to be left to the town to sell or do whatever you want with. The ones they want,
Right.
I think a third-party person that we both agree to is going to come in and evaluate that truck and
okay,
appraise it and say, this is what it's worth.
okay.
But
I
I,
guess the way I interpreted that is they would take the apparatus as their own, and then we would get a price for it
right.
right,
of
based
value.
on what this guy appraises it at, I
Right.
think. But that's a good question for them.
Mhm.
They'll have to clarify that.
Okay.
Okay. Is that all the questions on the capital equipment one?
Mhm.
So this one's long. On the response end here. So City of Pewaukee currently utilizes data analytics to establish baselines to follow best practices within the community. Data such as dispatch times and route times, overlapping calls, nature of calls, and service delivery level all play critical roles in the establishment of baseline operations. Due to time constraints between the request for documents and availability of such data, not all agencies document such details, the ability to accurately forecast call predictions is difficult. For example, although call time may show a response time of 15 minutes to a mapped high service density location, without knowing the amount of time it took for the apparatus to begin moving with a full legal crew, I have a question on what that means. The validity of the information is questionable. Data analysis provides the most recognizable methodology to ensure a fiscally and service-oriented response to all calls. Other conditions such as road conditions, geographical or man-made obstacles such as railways or construction can create skewed data which adversely affects response planning. The City of Pewaukee recommends a single station or split staffing station approach be utilized until such time sufficient data can be attained to seamlessly incorporate all stations, current Pewaukee and Lisbon, into effective response areas to meet the standards set forth by our accredited risk analysis. This data collection would also require a complete community risk analysis to be completed within the first 18 months to establish an all hazard approach to emergency operations. So I guess that paragraph right there, obviously we're going to know who's going to be responsible for that. And I guess I'd be curious how that's going to affect the contract moving forward
Exactly, who
also.
pays?
Um,
Okay.
But that paragraph in itself, are you saying, or the whole thing?
I think pretty much the whole thing states that, but I mean, that paragraph for sure, talking about the data collection would also require a complete community risk analysis to be completed within the first 18 months or
Mhm,
18 months to establish an all hazard approach. So that's the variable.
mhm.
So what happens when there is an all hazard approach established? What does that mean for us? Because if we're signing a contract and we're designating, like, let's say we decide to go, like in the first paragraph, actually, in that, right above that, where it talks about a single station or split staffing station, like, let's say we decide to go split staffing, and the model comes back that, yeah, it says that, but we really shouldn't be doing this. How does it affect the contract, I guess? I mean, the beginning kind of just basically says I thought that paragraph before pretty much just said, these are the reasons why we have to do this paragraph and do this study, which I'm not disagreeing with. How does everyone feel about that?
I think it needs clarification.
My question would be, if we sign, say, like a 5-year contract, is there do we get to renegotiate? Should they find something that, say it's an increased hazard or a reduced hazard?
Right,
Um,
exactly.
Do we have the ability to renegotiate, or do they have the ability to renegotiate? I guess that would be my question. And I'm guessing because of the two factors there with the single station or split staffing, I won't state it in open session, but there is a price difference between the two. I think we all can understand that. So if we started off with a split staffing model, signed, say, a 5-year contract, we're locked in for a price. After 18 months, they come back and say, actually, we can operate under a single station. Or do we have the ability to?
Make that reduction.
Increase or decrease.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that one? Goes on to read, the City of Pewaukee service model provides a minimum of 2 paramedics in all emergency medical calls and a predetermined effective response model for all 2 other incidents. The model currently allows a minimum of 1 paramedic on each responding vehicle. This excludes command and staff vehicles. We're proposing that outside special service, actually right there, I guess I'd be surprised if their command staff isn't paramedic level. I guess I'd be curious to find out about that. We're proposing that outside special services be contracted to enhance our response to those special or high hazard responses located within the community.
Is that who's paying for that?
Well, that would be on us, I'm assuming.
In
That's a
addition
it's a
to-
question. Yeah, so like, I'm sure they're referring to the east, northeast side of town.
That
Yeah,
would be my guess.
mine
So
too. I'm
We'd
concerned
have to
about
know
that.
what that means and, is that another? I mean, if we're signing a contract like one thing and all of a sudden they come back and say, we can't get to the northeast side of town, well, then what?
I think this might mean that, they need to have, and like many communities in Waukesha County, they contract with the city of Waukesha and they put them on a retainer for high angle rescue, special hazard rescue, trench rescue, and those specialty rescues would be under a contract from a different special teams, which,
So this wouldn't be for necessarily in the town. This would be for those special,
no, I think it's in the town, but it could be anywhere in the town.
I mean, not just like a specific area, so to say, but more so just high hazards
It
anyway.
would be like if you had a high angle rescue or trench rescue or something to that effect that you needed to bring in some special teams. And there's contracts that you can do, typically, most of them in Waukesha County do them with the city of Waukesha.
Mhm.
And I think that's in part to the whole thing in the sense that, I mean, community-based residential facilities, correctional facilities. I think, say they opened a quad graphics cutting plant for paper, that would be a high hazard probably. More mining operations. But, community-based residential facilities have a high propensity to draw increased number of calls, which is an increase. I mean, you could bring a couple residential facilities into the town and you could very greatly add to the percentage of calls that we're responding to there.
You can park an ambulance by them.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you look at the heat map that was, and I don't know what data was drawn off of, but I mean, our, the manufactured home senior community has a high response.
Yeah.
I said that correctly? I don't get yelled at.
We have a frequent call volume there, yes.
Right, so I mean, it's a lot of lift assisting and
I guess some clarification on that one. We anticipate that the contract language will reflect triggers that increase the baseline cost. Such growth as high capacity, community-based residential facilities, correctional facilities, high hazard manufacturing are just some examples of potential contract triggers that would indicate a potential expansion of service discussion. So I guess looking at that high hazard manufacturing right off the bat is our incoming ink plant. Is that being figured into this current contract price or would that be something else? I don't know what the hazards are of, I know ink is explosive.
Yeah,
The manufacturing of it is.
there's a lot of H1 hazard rooms in that building. H2.
And then if we would have the community-based residential facilities that come in, I guess I'd like to know how they're determining that. Is it based on call volume?
Will the Leeds project increase a lot of this cost because of the properties that we're building there, they're being built there?
That's the question, because that's where Wyckoff is going.
Right.
That could possibly qualify as a high hazard manufacturing. I don't know if it
But
does.
the
or doesn't.
frequency of calls going there may not be hardly any.
Right.
I mean, depending on their operations and how they manufacture things, and it's a new building with all the latest, greatest fire suppression and just approved your 12-inch water main. I mean, there's probably a lot of things there that will make that building fairly safe.
Right.
If they adhere
But
to all.
is it in there? I guess the question is it in their eyes? Or is this
I
something?
guess just to be simple, there's those three things there that are triggers. Can we just get definitional
Yep.
standards for them?
And if they are looking at a special teams coming in or some kind of contract over and above, what does that cost over above this?
Mhm.
Anything else on that one? Receivables shall be negotiated at the time of the contract. So that's like what we use LifeQuest for right now. I guess that's, we're gonna have to add, gonna have to be negotiated. Anyone have any specific questions on that right now? I don't know if Pewaukee does it in-house or if they contract.
No, they
out.
have an agency. I'm not sure who they have right now.
Mhm.
I think LifeQuest charges us 6% of the first billing. And then if it goes into collections, it goes higher and higher.
Right. So we'll have to get a proposal from them on if they want to do it in-house, and if not, if it's staying with LifeQuest and what the percentages are, and obviously it says we'll have to negotiate it. Any questions on that one? Inspections. Fire inspections will be conducted within the scope of Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services to meet the requirements of Wisconsin DSPS 314, and then the 2% rebate. So that's the rebate we get from doing,
You get 2% by completing your fire inspections. You get 2% of all the insurance. So the insurance premiums that are collected within your town, 2% of it, the insurance companies send to Madison. Madison redistributes it to the communities based on whether or not you pass your audit, that you did your fire inspections, and you did all the things that you did, that they required, and then you get your 2% of your money back.
So the 2% money is set aside money that we use for prevention and inspection to cover those costs, correct?
It can be used for, staffing. It can be used for absolutely public education. There's many things that are listed on there that you can use. I think Lisbon gets about 36,000 or 42,000 now a year, I think. About. So what he's saying here is he's going to do those inspections so the 2% money qualifications get met.
inspections will be conducted by both staff and fire companies. Plan review of fire suppression alarm systems will be conducted. Should the town of Lisbon request that such, I guess I'd like to know what cost that's going to be.
Mhm.
Is it included?
Me too. And who gets the, when you do a fire inspection, don't those companies pay?
We don't.
We don't charge.
But I think Pewaukee, they do.
Yeah. So I guess that'd be another question. Is that going to start
Yeah.
being charged?
And what is it? Mhm.
I mean, I don't think it has to be. I think I guess that'd be the question. Is that the town's prerogative or is that it comes along with a contract, you have to collect it?
And how about the plan review of fire suppression and alarm systems? It says, should we request it? Is there a cost? Okay.
Yeah, right now, currently, we do them, and it goes a lot by the size of the job. So many, it costs so much per device, so many smoke detectors, so many alarm indicators, whatever, on a plan. They fill that out, and that's how much money they send to us to do the plan reviews, and then the acceptance.
So
Inspection.
obviously, Pewaukee gets that.
It does, it says
If
you,
they do the inspections.
right now, we
Plan
get
reviews.
that. Some of it can be, it goes up and down a lot every year. I mean,
But who else can do it though?
you have to be certified and you have to have the working knowledge to do it. Absolutely.
So
Is that what Matt
actually,
does?
That's what Matt Mertens does for us, yes.
is he in the fire department?
He is our fire marshal in Lisbon. So he gets paid a salary every month, and he does all the plan review, and then he does the life safety systems acceptance testing when the buildings come up.
What happens to him if we go with this contract?
He has a full-time job.
Oh,
Yeah, he's part-time for us. He's part-time.
So would we have to go with Pewaukee's then?
Well, that's what we'd have to decide.
I don't know, there's probably a possibility that you could maybe still keep him. I don't know.
Okay,
I don't,
thank you.
They're offering it here.
And at plan reviews right now, we're charging the people that their plan is being reviewed, so that would not be an additional cost to us if they were going to do that. I know that I was from a place where my business, I had to pay to have someone come in, a private entity come in and do my fire inspection every year, and then the firemen would come in and just check it out anyways. But now I am, they moved over to Western Lakes, and now I just get a bill from Western Lakes once a month to take care of that. So I don't have to go out to Fleming's anymore and have them come in and do my
They
fire
do,
extinguisher checks. They do that for us, and then Western Lakes is now doing it for us.
Do they certify the fire extinguishers and everything?
I,
All right, any other questions on that one? And you can ask more questions. If you think of things, just send them to Kathy. It's just. All right, public education outreach. The city of Pewaukee currently embraces a diverse culture and welcomes public outreach in a variety of methods. Members and staff participate in programming for all age groups and educational levels. We would seek to continue and grow upon programming that has been organic in the town of Lisbon. It has been our past practice that all programming that provides community outreach be as cost efficient as possible and encourage partnerships to share in any costs above and beyond. So if it costs something, they're probably looking for it to be shared. That's what I'm assuming here, but
So, but our public education and outreach is paid for by our 2%. So we're not giving them our 2% revenue, correct? We're going to keep our 2% revenue? And then part of our
I think that's gonna be a-
contract would be, I mean, that would be my question. If we're going to give them our 2% revenue from the state, then they should be doing our public education. That's part of preventive, isn't it?
I think we,
there's many different categories that would fit under, you have to do some public education. So we go to the schools, and you do that on Fire Prevention Week. We also teach all of the sophomore classes CPR at Hamilton, which is a huge undertaking. But showing up at any public event, when you do your Easter egg hunt and you do, your Winterfest and you want a truck there, an ambulance there, and those kinds of public events are important too.
Is that, you think what they might be talking about is if they went to like our extravaganza, baby extravaganza?
what, and
and we ask for a fire truck to be there?
I mean,
we
I
have to
don't.
pay for them?
I don't think that is necessarily the outreach that I read in this paragraph. I think what they were talking about is in their last meeting when they learned, what's that program called? I have to pull my notes. What's that program that they learned about that they were interested in continuing that only the town does right now?
Oh,
I wrote it down.
Oh, they were doing stroke prevention, right?
Yeah.
Or is that the one?
What,
They-
what was the one that the town was doing that they hadn't undertook yet?
Oh, community paramedics? No, no. I know that not in their facilities.
No, it was like an educational. I can pull up my notes. later.
Yeah, you know what? I did remember Chief Johnson was mentioning something about it, wasn't he?
I guess, I think why they probably put something in here in the sense is, say that the town board thought it was really important to have a burn house or something like that for community education, and maybe they don't partake in that. I don't know what theirs is. Some communities have those mobile burn houses.
Right.
Say we really wanted that for our community. I mean, I think that's the way where they essentially outline that that's a cost above what their normal business is, not that it excludes it from being a possibility.
It could be other programs too, like, you can apply for kind of grants and you get like 50 smoke alarms, and then you go and put them in people's homes that need them, and you go do that public outreach. But some other agency or some other non-for-profit organization gives you those fire alarms so that the town or the fire department isn't paying for them. That would be, I think, a partnership with Red Cross or whoever you might be getting some of this other equipment from or things too. They might be referring to some of that.
Stop the Bleed, is that us or them?
What,
I think that's the,
Stop the Bleed is a program that they do.
yeah, I don't, I remember them saying something about
That was,
that.
With Hope Stroke.
Yeah, the stroke thing there.
Anything else?
I think we need to spell out if there's things that, if there's a cost in addition to what we're paying them. on
Well, this will
bid.
be stuff like we might be requesting. This is like stuff we do now.
Okay,
If they're gonna
and
share
double
in it,
check
or we're
about
gonna
the
be on a-
2%. Do we maintain that or do they get it? And if they get it, then there should be no cost.
But that doesn't come back to the fire department, though. It comes back to the community.
Boy, they can dictate what it goes for, can't
It comes
they?
back to us, but
Right.
it's technically supposed
it's
to be
part
for
of
that.
the cost of our inspection and prevention.
Goes on the revenue, put it on our revenue side on that.
Okay,
In my past place, we kept that money aside, and it was only used for that specific purpose. So when an audit came, we could show them that we used it for a burn house, or we used it to send these people to do our preventative at the schools, when you did the schools and that type of outreach. That's what we used it for in the past, so we kept it as a separate fund all by itself.
okay.
Emergency preparedness. The agency shall actively engage in assisting the preparation and training of the town emergency operations plan for the National Incident Command Model. Training shall be provided to all employees of the township to ensure the continuity of government under the ICS model. Well,
That's
who's the
awesome.
planner now?
Huh?
Who's the planner now? You're still it.
No, you, that's not gonna stay that way, though. That was a temporary thing about
Well,
emergency
temporary works
government.
in town government.
But,
Temporary is permanent.
It's a lifelong post. Actually, it's something we're gonna have to talk about because
yeah, you absolutely need an emergency government official, and everybody at the town hall should be trained to some points and level to take parts of the incident command system if there ever was a disaster, and those things definitely need to be done, and he's got it in here, and that's awesome.
questions.
I guess I would ask, under emergency preparedness, is there going to be charges outside of the contract for emergency preparedness situations such as, I mean, I think everyone remembers the Eagle tornado. That was a huge undertaking for the emergency preparedness. Do they charge outside of that, or is that an included price where would they then staff that? I mean, obviously that is reimbursable to a certain extent through the national government, but that doesn't happen overnight.
Okay. All right. Any questions on anything else? Anything else anyone wants to review on proposal?
Should we just continue on with the next page and then the subsequent pages? And I guess, do we have enough to discuss the difference? Or is that going to lead us in the closed session?
The last page, definitely would.
Yeah, I think it will keep close.
I mean, on the data analysis and data-driven decision-making has become the norm, and stakeholders have come to expect more than anecdotal information when it comes to how the fire departments are performing. The Milwaukee Fire Department recognizes the need to continually evaluate and monitor the services which are provided to the community. All 4 emergency service programs, EMS, fire, rescue, and hazmat, will be evaluated for baseline performance under all 4 risk levels: low, moderate, maximum, and significant. Baseline data will be analyzed to identify gaps in performance and develop benchmarks for improvement. It is the goal of the Milwaukee Fire Department to provide quality and progressive delivery of emergency services to the community. In order for that to take place, consistent improvement must take place by utilizing performance evaluation and developing strategies to improve current standards, the agency is able to progress its delivery of services. The benefits of regular and detailed measuring of program delivery is provides greater community alignment, encourage quality improvement, facilitates input and builds positive relationships with labor, identifies areas of strengths and weaknesses, and allows for the establishment of a plan for improvement, provides data-supported decision-making, communicates management and leadership philosophies, ensures your agency has a defined mission and related objectives, encourages the development of organizational procedural documents. Anyone have any questions on this or question? No questions?
I would ask, because there is a data analysis, how often do we get reporting? And what is that gonna look like for us? What would we be getting as far as data analysis from that?
Okay. Anything else from anyone? All right, that brings us to the staffing options.
So I just have while we're talking about data analysis, we do our sheriff does a monthly report. Is something that we could ask for, that they give us that report so we can get that to the board to see, how many calls we had. I mean, because we get that from fire now.
Right.
I hate to lose that ability to understand what was happening in our community by not getting that out of the city of Pewaukee. That's something we'd like to ask for.
Mhm.
Anything else on that one?
I guess, can you further clarify? Are you just looking to get stats out of this, or are you looking to get analysis out of this?
Well, I mean, we have the analysis, would be nice, but at the minimum, we'd like to make sure we understand what the stats are. Right now, for sheriff, we get stats and kind of what our big issues were this month or two. It'd be nice to know what was happening in our town, and if they were doing specific training or doing something specific to the, that would help the town. In addition to the data analysis that they're going to be doing on a regular basis. Just get us the reports. I can send them to all of you. But I'd like to make sure something was in there that said that we get something monthly from them.
Okay. Anything else? All right, so we can talk a little bit about the staffing options here and just list them out. But then the actual discussion on that is part of the last page. Option 1 would just be staffing at the Richmond Station. Richmond Station staffed with 6 personnel, Annie Pewaukee chief officer in the station. That is our Richmond Station was staffed with 6 personnel. Staffing plan it is feasible to have a fire suppression vehicle and an ambulance en route to a high acuity emergency in 90 seconds or less. The most significant impact on reducing response times is having an adequately staffed apparatus leaving the station within 90 seconds or less. The split station provides for 1 different apparatus in each station responding for high acuity calls. And you see it listed there. They have the different analysis on the chart. And the next page, staffing option 2, Richmond and Good Hope stations. So Richmond Station staffed with 5 personnel and a Pewaukee chief officer, and Good Hope Station was 3 personnel. Richmond Station was staffed with 5 personnel and Pewaukee chief officer. Second station, 3 personnel on a shared unit configuration. With this staffing plan, it is feasible to have a fire suppression vehicle and ambulance en route to a high acuity emergency in 90 seconds or less. The most significant impact on reducing travel times is having an adequately staffed apparatus leaving the station in 90 seconds or less. The current data may not support the additional cost to staff a second station at this time. So I guess my question on that, the current data may not support the additional cost to staff a second station at this time. My question at that point is, well, then which station do we use? I have a super hard time believing that if we're only gonna staff one station, it should be Richmond. I really do.
What worries me is the people that are, the northeast, because they're so far away, and that's a concern.
When we had one station, it was Good Hope.
There's only 4 sleeping quarters.
No matter what.
But
I mean, I guess I don't care
You can't
about
put
that so much as if
7
we're only
people.
gonna staff one station, it can't be based on who's, the sleeping quarters, I guess.
unless you build more,
Yeah.
but if you take the 3 full-time and the 3 part-time and a chief and try to put them at Good Hope, that will not accommodate.
But that doesn't change the fact that if you only have one station, where should it be?
I agree with what you're asking and saying.
So I guess I'd want to know, if the current data would not support the addition of a additional cost to staff the second station. I guess my question is, well, where should it be staffed then for Lisbon? Does anyone else have any questions on these 2 staffing models that they want asked at this time? It comes to the end where this says recommendations. The city of Pewaukee recommends that a single station or split staffing station approach be utilized until such time sufficient data can be attained to seamlessly incorporate all stations, current Pewaukee and Lisbon, into effective response areas to meet the standards set forth by our accreditation risk analysis. This data collection would also be required to complete community risk analysis be completed within the first 18 months to establish an all hazard approach for emergency operations.
Again, who pays for that?
All right, so that brings us to the end of our discussions on this. The back page obviously shows where the majority of our calls are. It's kind of hard to read there, but I mean, if you know the town, you can
It's
kind
really
of
hard
see.
to read.
Yeah,
I make a motion to go into closed session.
well, everyone's done with this. All right, item E is done. No more. Okay. So then item 11 is closed session. So we have 2 potential closed sessions here tonight listed. Closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 parent 1 parent G for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation, which it is or is likely to become involved, more specifically regarding the Wagner case. And there's nothing to update on that at this time tonight. So that would not be one we would be looking to go into closed session for. It is listed here, but we will not be going into closed session for the Wagner case. The second one is pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 parent 1 parent E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session, more specifically regarding a proposed contract with the city of Pewaukee for fire protection services. Is there a motion to go into closed session for that?
I make a motion.
Moved by Linda Beal. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Doug Brown. Roll call vote, please.
Chairman Osterman,
Aye.
Supervisor Moonen,
Aye.
Supervisor Beal,
Aye.
Supervisor Plotecker,
Aye.
Supervisor Braun.
Aye.
All right, that is 5-0. We will enter into closed session at 8:10.
I do have interim Chief Drager on Zoom. Would you like her to stay on as part of the closed session discussion, or would you prefer to end the meeting altogether?
No, this is going to stay up here.
And the meeting.
Okay.